Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the SCORE webinar. Today being on Build Your Brand. It's world-class techniques on Wall Street that actually you can use on Main Street with being a small business client. We're featuring Dave Harrison, who's a great member and mentor in our chapter, and I think you're going to learn a lot today. Um, Next slide. So just to give you a few words for those of you who are not totally familiar, but SCORE is a national nonprofit volunteer organization. We're giving that business advice. We're free. It's confidential. And on top of giving the one-to-one advice, we also do these business workshops. We've got about 45 members in the chapter, and they involve online experts and templates and tools that we provide to all of you out there. This is just briefly the SCORE resources available from Mid-Florida. When you go to our website, you're going to be able to go and select your chapter by zip code. Ours is 32162. You can go to our local mentors, and we have a page for each of those people. You can register for the workshops on the website, and there's a whole selection of templates, tools, blogs, recorded webinars, because we do record every single webinar that we put online. And as far as our presenter today, Dave has been with our chapter for a number of years. He's an active entrepreneur himself. He consults, and he does also university professorships. He's enjoyed a career as a senior executive with global responsibilities at Johnson & Johnson, Armstrong, and Standard Industries. And he's also started multiple successful entrepreneurial ventures. And he continues to be very active in this area. So with no hesitation, present to you folks, Dave Harrison, and enjoy this webinar.
I really appreciate it, Brad, and thank you. And so this seminar is Build Your Brand. And I'll say right up front, Build Your Brand is not just a company concept, it's a personal concept. And everything we're going to talk about today deals with both. And so I'm going to share some world-class techniques that major Fortune 500 companies use, Wall Street companies, but they work just as well on Main Street. They work extremely well on Main Street, and then I can share lots of examples. I'm going to share a couple today of it working on Main Street. But to make sure, because this is really about you, so I want to make sure, will today be successful for you if, one, you understand why great strategic branding is, frankly, it's your best protection to prevent failure. And it's your most important and effective asset, both personally as a company, to great success. And specifically, I'm hoping you get some insights today on why it's, some critically important foundation to achieve world-class results, how perception shapes that reality, and branding, well, that builds your opinions, and people make decisions based on their opinions. Frankly, we'd like to think we make decisions logically and based on facts, but studies show people use facts selectively to support their opinions. And as we know, if people take their opinions and assume they're facts, they're not, they're opinions. But people make decisions on opinions, and branding plays a major piece of that. Values helps build trust. And a big part of branding is that values, that trust, beginning on the inside of your company, or frankly, when people see it, the outside of your company comes across fake. You got to define yourself, again, personally and professionally, because if you don't, well, competition will define it for you. If you had some doubts about that, just regardless of your political persuasion, just turn on the TV news and you can see how political entities try to reposition each other and define the other one and the perception of those. The great branding drives awesome results. And that's what you're looking for. It drives results around team effectiveness. It drives results around client loyalty. It drives results around the growth of your business. So what we're really talking about is branding is about you. It's about you and how you stand out and your perception and how they think about you. And branding is about how people perceive you, right? And if you look at this chart, I showed a chart to show how different brands, based on different perceptions they wanted of themselves, right? Whether it's optimism or that they're friendly or that it's exciting or that they're creative or that they're most trusted or they're peaceful or they're balanced. And as you look at this array of logos, you can see how each of those brands is really set up in the examples I gave here to come across with a certain perception of who and what they are. All right. And that's what we're doing. And we do it through various techniques. All right. So, what are some of those techniques? So, what's the importance? Well, a couple of people that famous people, when the trust account is high, communication is easy. It's instant. It's effective. That's Stephen Covey. A lot of you have read Stephen Covey. And what's the implication? Trust helps create and maintain relationships. So trust is a key part of what you're trying to brand. As Warren Bennett said, trust is the lubrication. It makes the possible for organizations to work. So it's not just external, it's internal. Branding is as much internal. And again, not just company, to you as well, personally, right? It's the thing that makes it all work. And what's the implication? It's needed for all constituencies. Your brand affects if you've got investors, even a bank. It affects suppliers and how they treat and work with you. It affects employees. It affects the value chain. The value chain being, how does it get from you to the customer if it's not direct to the customer? So what's the reality? Well, listening, people don't listen closely to what you have to say. It's minimal until they trust you. If you watch how the brain works, if you read all the studies, which I have because of the responsibilities I had. I mean, we read study after study of finding out how people think, how they act, how they internally, employees, and externally, our customers, whatever. And what we found is people first are focusing their brain power on, do they trust you? And until they trust you, they don't listen closely. And trust is first introduced, but then you got to keep building it, and then you're going to maintain it, and it's constantly shifting. So what's the recipe for trust? I think it's sort of simple. It's that you demonstrate you really care and you really respect them, whether it's employees or clients, you really respect them, and you do it consistently, and you do it in a memorable way. And a key part of memorability, which I'm going to discuss a little bit later, but memorability has more to do with what they didn't expect than what they do expect. Let me share that again. People tend to remember more of what they didn't expect versus what they did expect. Give an example, right? In a relationship, I'll do this from a guy's standpoint. You're expected to remember birthdays and anniversaries and things like that. It's expected. What do they remember? The flowers that you sent on a Tuesday just because. They didn't expect. People remember most what they didn't expect. I'll give you an example. When I was in the construction industry, and I had a lot of Latino workers, and everybody gives, Christmas turkeys or cash bonuses, whatever. On the Friday before Mother's Day, because I had a lot of Latino employees, every one of them got 3 packs of a dozen roses, one for the mother, one for the mother-in-law, and one for the wife. Because in that community, they put women on a pedestal and they didn't expect the company to hand them roses to bring home. And by the way, that worked in all sorts of ways, even when they got home. Those people felt, hey, the company that in that case, it was construction, it was heavy construction, so it was mostly men, they care. And then action. People are more likely to agree that you're the best option when they know what's in it for themselves. So the reality of branding is it helps them that they listen to what you really have to say. They listen to the recipe. Are you really demonstrating care and respect and generating that trust and action? If they hear first trust, hear what's in it for them, they might like to agree you're the best option. Right? So before I keep going, just quickly in the chat room, just give me some feedback. Is this making sense so far? And I see a couple of questions here. Shannon, yes, at the end, we will, this entire thing is being recorded. And by the way, for those who don't know, Michael Conlon, I appointed him president of my fan club. You know that, Michael. You're president of the fan club. You're always here. And to get the presentation directly, the video will be on. But if you want the PowerPoint, you want to write to me specifically, and I will have that on the last slide. If I don't, remind me, and I'll put it on the last slide. But yes, you'll have a copy of the recording, and those who want the PowerPoint, write to me personally. And by the way, those who want videos of prior SCORE events I've done, please let me know, and I'll send you the link to that as well. All right, so let's keep going. So how's this search work? I mean, how do you do this? How do you get there? So you want to think in terms of what perceptions you hope people have, right? And I listed top 10 that I think of. Some organizations you want to be that you're empathetic, that you're caring. Some that you want them to believe perception that you're highly organized, or you're fast, you're fun. So for example, match the business to the perception you want. So for example, a comedy club, I want the perception of fun. For nursing school, I might want the perception of caring. For a travel agent, vacation, I want a perception that they are great at organizing. For fast food, I want the perception that they're quick. If it's heart surgery, I want the perception that they are really expert. And for clergy, discreet. You see what I'm doing here? Figure out the most important perception you hope they have given your kind of business and what's in it for them. And you hope that they choose you. And make sure strategically you match it up to that primary communication, that primary branding. All right? How do you do that? Do the mirror test. I mean, it's the foundation of branding. What's the implications? When you look in the mirror, you see, hopefully everything's great. What are they going to see? It's like the cat looks in and they see that, incredible title. What's the implication? Look at your organization and ask, what's that mirror test? Is it generating trust? Is it generating appreciation that we appreciate you? Is it generating that you're important? Is it generating that we're going to make it enjoyable or comfortable, whatever the perception is? And by the way, one of the things I do in my consulting and my clients and my own companies is I look at every single point of contact that we have with a customer or create with a customer, whether it's in writing, whether it's on the phone, whether it's brochure, whether it's app. I look at every point of contact and do a quick audit. How are we doing on trust? How are we doing on trust, care, and respect? How are we doing on educating? What and finally, how are we doing on what's in it for them and action potential? So do an audit, do that mirror test. It's sort of common. What's your attitude? What are they seeing? And what's your view of yourself? And again, every point of contact in your organization is A, first to be acceptable, but B, it's a chance to add value and differentiate yourself from the competition, to be a reason that you're their best and safest choice. What do they see? Try to imagine that someone's peeping through a window into your business. And you're unaware internally that clients are peering in. What are their experiences? What do they hear in the incoming call? What are they seeing in emails? What's the literature look like? What do instructions look like? And ask yourself, what are the implications to trust, being appreciated, feeling they're important and enjoyable and a comfortable experience for them? So every contact in their journey influences their perceptions of you and your organization. And that's where and how they compare the option of choosing you versus other options. And lots of things affect these perceptions. Type style affects it. Color affects it. I mean, the industries I've tended to be in, which are in both construction and medical, I did some others too, but those are the primary. One of the first things that I did was look to use colors of red, white, and blue, because subconsciously I knew from the studies I did at Johnson & Johnson that perception of red, white, and blue enhances subtly trust. And I'm looking for every single advantage, whether it adds 1% or a 0.25% or 3%, anything that drives strategy, what I'm trying to do, I want it. And color and type styles affect that. So, for example, if you look at the type styles on the right side, hey, if I had a nursery school, I'd probably use the type style 4 down of dreaming, right? If I'm you see my point, right? So all these things affect it. So about trust, as we talked about, it's the most important asset. It's the most important part of branding. If people don't trust you, they're probably not going to listen to you carefully. So it shapes your reality. So how well you communicate, plus the perception of trust, you know what that equals? The relationship. And if you do it really well, that relationship lasts a lifetime. Let's see if we can learn from ourselves and how it's going to affect all these different things. Let's see what we can learn from ourselves. All right. And let me just look at these notes real quick. It was like access to the prior videos. Yeah, I'll show you how to access those and think about my logo. You see that comment there and message now. Awesome. All right. Let's see what we can learn about decisions we make and how it affects branding. All right. Let's think about early dating. What did we learn in high school? Because, frankly, I found in business, most of the most important lessons I learned of all about business, I learned in high school. And where I learned in high school, I learned it in competing in sports and in music. And I learned it in relationships where trying to figure out friends and especially how to get dates. What can we learn from dating? All right. What's the biggest reason of not being able to get a date? Asking. And why is that such a big deal? We avoid asking because fear of failure. What does that tell us about human nature? Fear of a bad experience is far more important in the decision process than the gain of a good one. Let me try that one more time. Fear of a bad experience drives more decisions than gain of a good experience. And Stanford University did a study on it not that many years ago, and it's a 2.1 factor. In other words, for a benefit experience to equal the perception of a negative experience, the benefit has to be 2.1 stronger. So what that tells us, human nature is avoidance more than gain. Avoidance first, gain second. What you find most world-class communications, branding, Procter & Gamble, IBM, Microsoft, all these world-class companies have figured that out. Most haven't figured it out. Is they focus first on the experience they're helping you avoid, and secondarily, the experience that can help you gain. Because to get decisions of your clients, your job is to help them overcome the fear of a bad experience. And how you help them overcome that bad experience, it's much less likely to happen with you than others. So what happened then? Well, in the dating process, I go, okay, well, how am I going to overcome this fear of asking? Well, first is I'll talk about myself, or I'll have my friends tell her about myself. You know what the reality is? Who cares? What I learned is asking good questions about her, following up with understanding why, and taking notes. That generated trust. And trust equals care and respect. And that's your most important asset. And then, and why is that? Well, asking identifies what's most important to other people. And then to gain more insight, I had to get some information. I needed insight. And where's insight come from? Who, what, when, where, or how something was done. And how important was it? It was based on the why. So the questions that help generate trust, that demonstrate care and respect, and understanding the why, getting the insight, and taking notes to show that I really cared, that was in a business setting, I gain insight. And insight comes from, there's only 5 things that cause anything good or bad to happen. Who, what, when, where, how. And how do you know how important? Then find out the why, the result. And what drives action? Healthy experiences, healthy relations. What gets people to act? It's they feel that the experience, what's in it for them, is the best experience option versus their other options. And that's the core. And we learned it in dating. I learned it, first. Avoid, oh my God, I'd love to have a date, but I'm scared to ask. Then, too, is, I'll tell her, have my best friends tell her best friends. And at the time in high school, I was doing some studio work for some big bands and, Moody Blues and Ted Nugent. I ended up working for Ted's brother. Those things didn't work. What worked is when I finally figured out it wasn't about how she felt about me. It was how she felt about herself when she was with me. And she felt good about herself when I was interested in her, which generated trust, which came through questions. Those questions came from understanding the who, what, when, where, how, and understanding the why, and prioritizing, and then understanding what she was trying to achieve. It all ties back together. There's a summary of that, and it's in the charts. Why do we avoid? Fear. Why? It's about helping. It's about helping them and helping their constituencies, right? We talk about ourselves. Who cares? Bragging doesn't generate trust. It's about them. It's identifying and educating what they want to avoid and what they want to gain. It's about asking, plus why, plus taking notes. In fact, at Johnson & Johnson, it was grounds for being fired if you didn't take notes because we were so focused on trust. And we knew that when you didn't take notes on what someone else said, the reasons they thought you didn't take notes were all bad. You didn't care. It wasn't important. You were wasting the time. We couldn't come up with one reason that perception, branding, any positive perception on why you didn't take notes. And the key to asking questions is keep following up the questions, because what you'll find in questions When you ask a question, you'll get facts. You ask a follow-up question, you get facts. When you ask a follow-up again, you get facts. But when they run out of facts, you get to the gold. When you run out of facts, you get to the here's why, the experience they're trying to avoid or gain. And when you get that, you're getting to what other people haven't figured out, but you figured out the value, the unexpected. And trust is strategic because they don't expect that. Again, you ID what's really important, the who, what, when, where, how questions, but focus on the why. The value is in the why. And healthy relationships generate action. Your branding shapes opinions. Your facts only support it. Focus on them. What did they actually hear? And again, before I continue, just want to make sure. I'm going to look at the chat real quickly. All right. I need to. Okay. So it looks like, and just quick feedback. Is it going well so far? Is this understanding? You getting the key points? Is this helpful to you? Is it adding value to you? And yes, it is being recorded, and I will share that again. And I appreciate it. Looks like things are going well, and therefore I'm going to keep going. All right. So the model that I created that I use, it's a very simple model. I've used this in evaluating in every business I've been in, and every client I work with, and every business I've invested in, and even nonprofits and profits. I use a simple formula. I boil it down to the essence. One, trust is your most important asset, personally and as a business. And what's the recipe? Respect and care. So what are the ingredients? One, explain when you share something, explain why. And a little experiment for you. I want you to eavesdrop on conversations. And I've got a hunch that you're at first probably not going to believe me. But every time I've done this experience with people, 90% of the time, it turns out true. When you eavesdrop, you're going to hear someone talk about who did something, what happened, when it happened, where it happened, and how it happened. You'll hardly ever hear why. Who knows why God wired us that the most important part of any conversation is the why, and we're not wired to share why. So one way of standing out in a crowd, generating more trust, is do what most people don't. So first eavesdrop to prove that I'm right. Most people don't share the why, and then make sure you do. Make sure you never leave a fact an orphan. Always give that orphan a family, which is the why. The second key part of trust is the questions you ask. When you can, take notes, because anytime you don't take notes, the reason they think you might not have taken it, none of it's good. All decreases trust. What's the second part? It's the analysis and the communication. The analysis is your role. Think chess. The problem is most people, once they think chess, want to share all the details of the chess game. No, boil it down to checkers. Think chess, communicate checkers. And what's checkers? It's sharing the insight. It's the primary cause and effect is the recipe. Cause is any combination of who, what, when, where, how. Any that are important. The ones that are not critically important, leave it out. And how do they know it's important? It's communicating the why. And then drive action. Remember, most action is based on avoiding and then secondarily gain. So share both. What's the recipe? The what's in it for me is how people think. Share the experience you can help them avoid, and share the major reasons you can help them gain, and why and how that's different. Key, how that's different from their other options. That's what drives behavior. Now, Warren Buffett agrees with this branding. It takes 20 years to build a reputation, only 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you might do some things a little bit differently. Branding is strategic. Henry Ford agrees. You can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. You build it on what you did. What's the implication? Truth is now. Jeff Bezos, Chris, that's Amazon. A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn a reputation by trying to do the hard things really well. And what does that mean? Be disciplined. And how do I think of the word discipline? It's the same in professional sports. It's the same in professional music. It's the same in professional anything. The difference between good and great is normally discipline. And what's discipline? It's doing what you don't want to do and doing it anyway. What you don't want to do and doing it anyway. I'll give you an extreme example. If you met me in 11th grade, my goal in 11th grade was to be a percussionist for a major symphony orchestra. It's going to sound weird. A percussionist for a major symphony orchestra. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, percussion is one of the easiest things to fake. But to be great, I'll give you an example. My junior year of high school, I used to practice percussion 2 to 3 hours a day. My junior year, I practiced orchestral cymbals 30 minutes a day. You go, why would he practice cymbals 30 minutes a day? And I didn't like it. But to be great at anything, it's about doing what you don't want to do it anyway. Orchestral cymbals, you never hear them hit. You don't hear, you hear. And it took me 30 minutes a day to be able to get that down. As a result, by the way, McDonald's has the All-American Band, 2 musicians from every state. American Airlines had the All-American Orchestra, 2 musicians from every state. I represented Massachusetts as one of the 2 musicians, as a percussionist. Discipline is doing what you don't want to do and doing it anyway. Howard Schultz, Starbucks. People believe they share the values of a company, they're going to stay loyal. That's both internally and external. And apparently, Starbucks lost its way a little bit internally. And once you lose your values internally, well, as Starbucks saw, that's when they unionize. But the implication is your clients are anyone who depends on you and has other choices. Therefore, clients are internal and external. Steve Forbes, Forbes magazine, your brand is the single most important investment you make in your business. Implication, it's a core asset. And Zig Ziglar may be the best sales trainer that I ever heard of. But one of the most important concepts in business, if people like you, they will listen to you. If they trust you, they'll do business with you. Business is all about relationships. And one of my favorite entrepreneurs, actually last week I was down in the British Virgin Islands with 80 people celebrating a friend's 50th anniversary, and we got to see Mr. Branson's home down near Tortola. But his comment was, branding demands commitment. Commitment demands continual reinvention, and reinvention demands imagination. What's the implication? The key to greatness is making the complex simple too. Most people get carried away trying to make the complex even more complex. They think it makes them smarter. They think it makes them look smarter. They think it improves their perception. No, it's the opposite. Being able to demonstrate the complexity and make it simple is true value. So I'm going to share some things out of my branding toolbox, right? How I've done some of these things, and hopefully it'll help you some, right? So first of all, people say, well, Dave, what's the difference between branding and marketing? Well, they're different. They overlap, right? But value is why choose you versus other options. So key on value is they understand differences, not just what you do, but how it's different than the other options, right? And the how is how you deliver that. And branding does that, and marketing does that. So branding generally includes the overall value message. And it's affected by the logo and the elevator pitches and the basic beliefs of the organizations. It's what people expect. It's what their experiences are. It's all those things, whereas marketing is the very specific things. It's the lead generation, the client meetings, all those things. But the two overlap. Branding is the perceptions, marketing is engaging them. And that's my simplistic view, right? But the key is their journey, them getting to, from their viewpoint, what's in it for me. And the journey, no matter what the industry, generally goes through the same process. First, do they trust the information they're getting? Do they trust you, your organization, your products, your services, whatever? But people rule you in out before they rule you in. So trust in the early stages has more to do with, are you acceptable amongst all the options? So think about resumes. You got a bunch of resumes. You don't read every resume. You quickly scan them to select the 3 or 4 that you're going to focus on. Think of what they're doing. First, to make it easier, are you acceptable? And what are they looking for? Do you seem to have what they expect? Do you seem to have what they need and want? The basics. But then what kicks in is their insight. Can you grab their interest? And what grabs their interest? It's what they didn't expect. It was something that was a surprise. And then demonstrate in that insight that it's different from their other options. It's unique. That there's first, less potential problem or risk, experience they don't want. And secondly, it's more gain they can trust. And the fourth step is nailing it down. What's in it for them that drives action? Why now? What's the promise? And what are the next steps? And my suggestion to you is build everything you do that can help people through that journey. So let me give you an example. Is what I did, right? Something pretty darn simple, right? At first, people at Johnson & Johnson thought we were nuts. Why would you come out? Why would you even look at toothbrushes? Back then, they were 4 for $1. We looked at it. What is acceptable to even be considered as a toothbrush? Oh, people want healthy gums and they want to remove debris and clean the teeth. What would grab their interest? Most people didn't know back then. Most cavities are on the back teeth. So what was our difference? Well, we had these bi-level bristles that remove debris and clean your teeth and healthy gums. But we even angled it like a dental instrument to prevent cavities where most of them are on the back teeth. And what's in it for you? Try it now. And there's even a $1 instant savings coupon you can use at your drugstore or supermarket. That was reach. And within a couple of years, it was an $80 million brand, 2-3 years out of the gate. And I can still remember, it did so well, we immediately built factories in Puerto Rico and negotiated deals that we didn't have to pay taxes for 10 years. We were selling for $1.25, and it cost us 11 cents. Simple story. It's worked for almost every business, no matter how complex or simple. Simple journey. Give another example. So one of my clients was a roofing company. I worked a lot in that industry, still do a lot of consulting in construction. And this company was having trouble finding employees because employees have lots of other options. And by the way, with what's going on with deportation right now, I'll give you a small example. You're in the state of Florida, 93% of the people who actually put on a roof are on the ICE list right now for deportation. So I don't know how we're going to get roofs done, but that's a whole nother issue. But this company is having trouble getting employees, and they asked my help. So we said, okay, what do roofing employees, installers, the good ones, what makes you an acceptable company? Steady work and hopefully some overtime. And ideally, some health benefits and a safe work environment. So what did we create that was different? Well, to grab their interest, we said, hey, when it rains, isn't it true you got no work that day? Well, at our company, when it rains, come to work anyway. Why? Because we also redevelop and rehab real estate, buildings. So when it's raining, we can only pay you 60% of what you normally would, but you got a place to work. It's indoor, and you're going to learn some new skills. So you're always working and have the potential for overtime. So apply now as a $200 signing bonus plus a free physical. And that company took off. That company went from a $5 million roofing company to a $50 million roofing company. And by the way, the real estate that they were rehabbing on average was generating over $1 million a year in profit to this day. Simple formula. Acceptable, grab their interest. What's different? Take action. And a key in most of your business is a lot of people haven't thought that through. When you focus on what's my difference, this company thought they were in the roofing business. It changed their business based on the need of getting the best employees. And by the way, it became the best marketing pitch for selling corporations on use us for your roofing. Why? We have the best roofing crew in Chicago. Why? Because we're the only roofing company that when it rains, our employees have a place to work. So everyone wants to work for us. That also sold more roofs. It all ties together. Here's an example of a client I had with SCORE, right? He had this equipment. We created this thing called Heirloom Gifts. And all we did is we took the equipment that she was using for quilting and turned the quilting into what's one of the most common gifts when there's new babies or celebrating anything. It was a communication strategy. You're going to get value and quality. Yeah. You can afford it. Yeah. It's special. It's different. Yeah. It's affordable, personalized gifts for weddings, births, anniversaries, whatever. From a quilting piece of equipment. So when you think about it, what's the core that we're talking about? We're talking about an elevator pitch, essentially. And without it, your branding's naked, right? So what are they doing? What do they expect? We talked about that. What wouldn't they expect? That's the value. What's the essence? What's important? Draft it, test it, and keep doing that over and over again until it works. And you may need to do that multiple times through that funnel to get it right. And once it's complete, everybody should know it in your entire organization and share it with as many people as they can, because now you create an army of people referring you. So I'm going to give you some examples, again, some prior clients of mine. This one was a consulting practice. So this is showing you how this works as a consultant. So what's the introduction? Hi, this client was Greg Hain. I'm with Hain Coaching Group. Well, we create peer groups for non-competing contractors around the country. What do people expect? What's acceptable? Well, contractor peer groups meet 3 times a year and collaborate, solving problems in a rigorous, supportive, and discreet environment. And we follow up with monthly coaching to assure clients stay laser focused and implement those commitments and not just talk about them. What's unexpected is no risk. If a client's investment does not quickly pay for itself and bring enormous value, we don't want your money. We'll return the entire membership fee gracefully. What's the solution? Well, we promise you're going to get great proven ideas and implementation support that's going to help you and your team achieve your dreams. And action, why now? We have a new peer group of fantastic owners like you starting in 3 months. You might be a great fit. But please don't join unless you feel comfortable. So what next steps do you suggest? Try another one. This was another client that I had with SCORE. And we first wanted to get it on a business card just to start. So he distributed equipment for processing meat. It's called ProPack. So we created the business card. What are we? We're meat processing solutions. Well, what would those people want? Fast, affordable, and quality. And what is it they want? Equipment. They want parts, used, and they want new. That was on the front of the business card. On the back, we added, again, like an elevator pitch. Here's our promise to reduce your downtime and increase your profits, because that's what those people worry about, why they would want new or used equipment or parts or whatever. And how do we do that? We solve your pain. We help you build sales because we add client value, differentiate your services, how you deliver the parts to grocery stores. Don't have the parts? Well, we can get them. Keep your old machines operating. Need capacity, but you can't afford new equipment? We can do that too. Or you want more productive? We get creative, customized solutions. And then we need to build a brochure. So we started with what we had on the business card. And then we said, okay, step two is what would they expect? Well, our credentials are clients served over 150 in countries all over, and revenues have been millions. And what clients say, we gave them some testimonials. So that expectations were acceptable. And we said, okay, what wouldn't they expect? Well, you need various options, a lot of different manufacturers. We carry parts and pieces from every major brand. Most distributors only have a few brands. Replacement parts. We have access to both generic and the company original. Most distributors only carry it for the company that they distribute. We can get it from everywhere. We're international. Most company distributors are local. And our knowledge is we've got global perspective. So we built what wouldn't they expect? And then we built what are the disasters in your life? Right? Well, you need to add client value and differentiate solution. Our equipment lasts longer, so there's less waste, and our packaging looks better, so you get better margins. You don't have the parts to keep the old machine working? We got a solution. We have contacts for a while. We'll get you up and running fast. So we built the story, and then we turned it into a brochure, just a 2-page brochure, and it took off. It's the same process. What are we? What do we do that's important to you? Prove we're acceptable. Share how we're different and prove it through a promise. And again, I just want to check real quickly in the chat room. How are we doing? Okay, give me some quick feedback. Is this making sense so far? Just want to make sure. Anything I've left out? Anything that... Okay. A few more. We're doing good. All right. So I'm going to add a few more things how to do all this. The branding is based on the it. What does that mean? Well, the mission explains why we exist. It's the promise. And I generally write promises, and I'm going to show you examples both internally and externally. Most do it just externally. The vision. What do we want to be? What does that really mean? What's the future look like? The values, well, it's how we behave. What do we commit to? And the strategy is why choose us? So you want to develop it, those 4 things. And will they believe it? Do you believe it? You want to live the it. Are you holding yourself and others accountable? You want to check it. You want to constantly measure and monitor the it. How are we doing it? You want to look at how we're doing it and say, can we improve how well we're representing those? Continuous improvement. You want to discuss it through your slogans, through your commitment, through everything you do. You want to reinforce it through demonstrations that you're doing. You want to guide in every interaction, the entire journey and decisions you make, and you want to flaunt it with pride. So I'm going to give you an example. When I first started with GAF, 600 million in sales, 850 million in debt. It was all junk bonds. It was 6 months from bankruptcy. For 10 years, it had bad financials, high turnover, employee turnover, 35 to 40% a year, not a lot of pride. It was our attitude. We make and sell roofs. So the mission basically was, why do we exist? To make money. What's the vision? To be profitable. What are our values? We make it and we sell it. And what's our strategy? It's available and at a discount. That was the business model. And that was internally the way we viewed ourselves, and the customers viewed it for 10 years. We're the cheapest on price. If you saw our sales, the first 3 weeks of the month, hardly any. The 4th week, it peaked. And our biggest week was always the last week in the quarter because all the distributors knew we needed sales desperately. We had a weak market share, 14%. At that time, we were just residential, so it was only roof shingles. And the attitude is contractors would say, I might buy it if it's on sale. It was our business model. get the distributor to stick in the warehouse. Why? We had a great price. We brought him food, and we took him to entertainment. And then the distributor pushes the contractor, and how are they selling our product? It's the lowest price. They'd invite him for hot dogs and stuff at the distributor. They entertain him. And the contractor sells it to client on price. You notice that doesn't work for anybody. So how do we change it? First, I changed the mission. Why we exist. We assure property owners and their specifiers the best and safest choice, and we help supportive contractors and distributors build their business and avoid hassles. What do we want to be? We want to be a world-class building materials organization based on a foundation of being the biggest and best roofing products manufacturer. Foundation doesn't mean stay there. And strategy, why choose us? What do contractors really want? Help me generate leads, help me educate the clients on why I'm a better value, give me something that gives me a competitive advantage, help me build capability in our company, and help me get things at a lower price. 10 years later, we went from number 5 to now, if you take the number 2 roofing manufacturer, number 3, and add them together, they're not even close to the size of GF. GF's now $6 billion with no debt, and also the biggest manufacturer of solar panels. Employee turnover, hardly any. People love working there. You compensate well, and they have pride. Why? Because the attitude there is we help others achieve what they want. And by the way, it now sells at a premium because it's worth it. And people buy constantly. It's loyal. And they're the number 1 in the free world, North America and Europe, roofing manufacturer. Why? Because the attitude is, how do I help you succeed? And if you break it into 2, examples of where you'd see this. We put this everywhere. And I was there for 13 years and led it and was on the board of directors for 13 years and then consulted for them for another 4. I thought I'd hate the roofing industry. It was a blast. So would you agree? Values drive results. What we believe, actions we commit to. So what's the recipe? Beliefs drive values. Values drive our culture. Culture drives the experience, both employees and for clients. Experience drives their knowing what's in it for me, and what's in it for me drives our personal actions. And those actions become your reality. Back to branding. So here's an example of one of my clients. Actually, I'm a part owner in this company. Instead of calling it values, we call it behavior. And this is in every office and everywhere you see in this company. And we call it our GPS because we said we're not always going to get it right, but we're going to recalibrate and go back to it. We don't just tell, we explain why. We don't just wing it. Here's an example of values. And then we have examples of our process, the how. And we talk about, and this is on every office, in every meeting room, everywhere. Recalibrate so we stay on track. We do brand audits. We map the customer's journey from the awareness to the incoming call to how we confirm to the first visit, the second visit in that company. It's a home improvement company. And we audit every element. Are we generating trust? Are we consistent? Does it demonstrate we care? Does it demonstrate we respect them? Is it clear? Does it demonstrate that we're different than their other options? So in summary, perceptions are everything. And here's an example of a perception. What perception do you have of this high school student and what he ended up doing in his life? Anyone have a guess? Well, that's me in high school. After flunking out of 3 high schools. That's my 3rd high school. Things ended up working out a little bit better. So, summary of lessons learned. Do you agree? You said it would be successful for you if you understood why great branding is important. It's your best protection to prevent failure. It's your most effective asset. Hopefully, you gain some insights on the foundation and perceptions that shape it and values that build trust and how you need to define yourself and what drives awesome results. This is being recorded and it'll be available online. A. B. If you want the recording and the PowerPoint, here's my email address. And 3, if you want prior videos of prior events I've done, write that also in the email. So in the email, let me know, do you want the video of this? Do you want the video and the PowerPoint? And you want the links to prior videos and prior PowerPoints? And just let me know in the email what you want. So I guess my ending question is, was today successful for you? That's awesome. And appreciate those comments. And on behalf of SCORE, it's a privilege at this time in our lives that are part of the SCORE members I work with to be able to give back and help other people in the way we got help along our journey. So thank you for the privilege of being able to do this and write to me and let me know if I can help in any way. And Fred, are you still there to close this out?
Yes, I am.
All right, back to you.
Okay, briefly for everyone, thank you so much for participating today. Hope it was valuable. I spent a lot of years in branding myself in consumer business and in higher education. And I walk away after an hour with Dave and find myself far more educated than I was even before that. That's what he brings. Reminder, this has been recorded. And therefore, in a few days, you will receive an email that has a link to it that allows you to go back and redo the webinar again. Appreciate your signing up for the webinar. If there's anything else this chapter can do to help you in your business, we are here for you. We've got 45 people in the chapter with a breadth of experience, and we're here to help and serve you. Have a great Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.